excited to bring you 6 tips of how to make your VBS lesson easier. Tip number 1, it's all about body language. You want to make sure that whenever you're teaching your lesson, you're very aware of what you're doing with your body. If you're leaving your arms like this, it looks like you're bored and you're uninterested. But when you're using your arms, when you're telling such a big story, or you're leaning in because you want them to get that Jesus sat at the feet and cleaned his disciples' feet, that's why you use your body to really help lead your story to where it needs to go. All right, that was tip number 1, body language. Tip number 2, it's all about the way you use your voice. When you're excited, you get loud, or maybe you need to whisper something. Or maybe you just need to keep it level. You want to make sure that your voices that you use, maybe you need to also describe a character of saying, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Use it. Those different dynamics really help your lesson become more alive. So that was tip number 2, using your voice. Tip number 3, props. You want to make sure that when you're adding props to your lesson, they are an addition but not a distraction. These props are going to make kids remember what you talk about. So imagine I'm talking about kids playing outside and playing a game of dodgeball. I might bring this ball as my prop because they're going to remember that Miss Brittany got slammed in the face by one of these. Because when I'm talking through my story, I'm using that prop and then I'm getting rid of it. Perfect. That was tip number 3, props. Tip number 4, grabbing the kids' attention. Kids have tiny attention spans, so sometimes you could be teaching an amazing lesson, but then you see some of these wandering eyes, or maybe there's some chatty people in your group. You want to make sure that first you establish up front that when you're talking, they are listening. So if you have a younger crowd, something that I like to do is I like to say, when I'm talking and the kids repeat, we're listening. Or if you have more 4th and 5th graders, I like to make it real awkward. If I'm talking, I just stop talking and I stare. And then they get the point that it's time for them to be quiet. So I would first gauge of making sure that you have rules in place that the kids understand. And 2, remembering it's not their fault. And then 3, having something that you can actively pull them in at a moment's notice. All right, that was tip number 4, grabbing the kids' attention. Tip number 5, your intros and your outros. You want to make sure that when your intros, they're connecting to the story, but you also want to make sure that it grabs those kids' attention. So you might need to tell a kind of silly story or crazy story to connect with your part of your large group. Or maybe it's your outro. You want to make sure that when you're ending your lesson, you commonly hear is land the plane. You want to first think about what is the bottom line? What do you want them to walk away and remember? And so when you're doing your closer, what I would do is I would mention the bottom line. I would ask them to repeat it after me. And then I might talk about why that bottom line is important to me, or maybe give them a challenge. So that's kind of how I like to outro my messages. So if that was helpful for you, I'm so excited that you can use that. So that was tip number 5, intros and outros. Tip number 6, the last tip, how to use the Bible effectively during your large group lesson. So sometimes using the Bible could be a bit distracting when the kids can't find where you're looking. So something that I like to do is before I even start my intro, before I even start my lesson, I tell the kids, we're gonna be in Matthew 9 through 13. So what I have them do is I have them find it, and once they find it, they set their Bible right in front of them, and then I tell my intro story. So that when I get to where the Bible's at, they already have it open and I can point it out. And it's okay, even if they can't read, it's so important that we teach them how to open up the Bible, and we teach them how to look into it. So, tip number 6 is having them open up the Bible and try to do it in the beginning of your lesson. so that you can help them and it will make your experience so much better. Thank you so much for joining me on the 6 quick tips to help you succeed in your large group teaching. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here to support you. All right, guys, have a great VBS in your neighborhood. Bye.